Since the launch of the Pro iPhones in 2019, the regular models have managed to score some Pro features later on, although in a sort of staggered, delayed way. But this year, with the iPhone 15, these phones are now more Pro than ever before, which is why I think the regular 15 model is the best value right now. All right, first up, let's talk about the display. It is phenomenal this year, very Pro, even with 60 Hertz. I promise you, really no one cares, and I'll elaborate about this in a minute. What I care more about is the fact that it gets 1000 nits bright standard, which has been a Pro feature since the 13 Pro and also last year. Lovely. I love searing my eyeballs, and it also just helps when you're using your phone in sort of a brightly lit area. And outside, it gets up to 2000 nits. There's no always on display here. I turn that off anyway with the Pro models because I want to save battery life. But yeah, really bright display this year. You also get the dynamic island. And yes, everybody wants an unobstructed full screen. I do too. But this thing is actually really neat. It just sort of incorporates the UI and just background information. It sort of brings things to the forefront within iOS. So I really enjoy it. It's really sexy, really well done. It's not a gimmick. It's actually a really decent feature, and I'm so happy it is here. So these two features help me forget the fact that the refresh rate is half of that of my iPhone 15 Pro and Pro Max. I don't really care. I use these phones for weeks at a time, the 15 and 15 Plus, and I loved them. Scrolling wasn't bad. Of course, video watching isn't bad. Really, there's no 120 Hertz content. I didn't really miss it that much. Again, I really care more about brightness than the dynamic island, and I think you will too. Also, something I want to mention is the fact that the display is just big enough so that two-handed typing is pretty decent. I like it better on the Pro and Plus model, but it's decent here. You can also do one-handed typing much better. That's not really, that feasible with the Pro models. You gotta do some, hand aerobics with that. But yeah, the display here is really fantastic. So yeah, I would say the display brightness and the dynamic island outweigh 120 Hertz a bit to a lot of bit for most consumers, maybe not the sweaty tech nerds like you and me who care about 120 Hertz, I gotta have it. But if I couldn't have it and this was my option for a phone, I really would not mind, again, because the display is super bright and the dynamic island is now here. This display will also look even better with one of my SKYLINE II wallpapers. I'm launching them today for mobile, desktop, and tablet. I'll leave a link in the video description if you're interested. They're gorgeous New York City themed wallpapers, and I hope you check them out. I'm really proud of them and excited to share them with everybody. Okay, next up I want to touch on design, and I would go as far to say that I think the 15's design is about equally premium compared to that of the 15 Pro, if not a little better for a few reasons. Number one, the colors this year look fantastic. The pastels are really, really solid, and I know people wanted, more saturated colors, but Apple's already tried that, and honestly, if you want to keep a phone for years, you're gonna want something a little more muted because, you can't take the color out of the phone. You can put a case on, like this and, take it off when you're done. But yeah, I really love the pastels. I think a lot of you will too. The pink looks amazing. The green's great. The blue is all right. The yellow's interesting. The black looks really sick, sort of like that slate color with the iPhone 5. Second up, you get matte glass on the back here, which has been a Pro feature for a minute. And then we get rounded edges, which is sort of an iPhone 6 and 10 feature brought back to this iPhone 5/12 style design. So it feels really nice in the hand here. The difference in the material was a little more evident last year, aluminum versus stainless steel. So if you wanted to get cut by one metal, with the straight edges, I'd prefer stainless steel personally. But this year, both of the rails on the phones or the chassis, they feel amazing. So that's my last point. The chassis or the rails here are made out of aluminum with the 15, which is still lighter than titanium. So you get a pretty much equally premium design, better colors in my opinion if you want a color. Again, I think the pink's great, but it's not for everyone. And it's a lighter phone to throw around. And it's cheaper. So yeah, again, the design here has never been better, and it's pretty much equivalent to the 15 Pro and more colorful for those of you who care. All right, next up, let's talk performance, and I promise you, it's more than good enough. The A16 is a beast, graphically, computationally. The A15 was great. The A14 was great. The A13 was great. The chips have been so good the past couple years that the performance is so marginally better each year. Like the regular iOS experience, opening apps, web surfing, streaming video, most of the stuff that we do anyway is gonna be the same experience. Of course, when you update older phones, they get a little bit slower because the hardware isn't, as good. And of course, there's the Apple conspiracy to slow down every phone, which is probably a little bit merited, but like really just the hardware just kind of conks out, your battery gets worse, and the animations and the operating system gets more advanced. So anyway, point is, the chip is going to be great for the next couple years. The 14 Pro and Pro Max were really stellar performing devices for gaming and other high-end tasks and whatnot. It handles video great, computational photography great. All in all, it's nothing to worry about. And you know, I know it's kind of like, oh, well, the Pro model has a better chip. Yeah, like most people, even I don't use it. I mean, I'm not a big smartphone gamer, so you're either like 1% of the people that would actually take advantage of the new 3nm tech and the ray tracing and all that, or you're like everybody else who's just watching TikTok on their phone. And next up, let's talk about my experience with the camera system here. This has been so great. I mean, to the point where I was thinking, do I even need a Pro phone anymore? And this is because this is the biggest hardware jump we've seen since 2019 when the iPhone line split in two, the 11 and 11 Pro. The iPhone 11 got a 0.5x camera, and of course the 11 Pro got a telephoto and a 0.5x and some other stuff. But like this has been so good for one main reason, and that is because of the main camera sensor, which is now up to 48 megapixels, up from 12. 12 has been the standard since 2015 with the 6S. This is a big deal because it means three things. Number one, you can take full resolution 48 megapixel photos when you want. You just have to choose the HEIF Max option, which is a little inconvenient, and also the file sizes are a little bigger. But more importantly, the standard images that you can just take, you know, right out of camera without adjusting any settings are now 24 megapixels standard. So you get more detail per image, you can crop in more, and they just look more detailed and sharp too, which is really nice. And it's really well done. It doesn't look over processed or over sharpened. And you also finally get 2x optical quality virtual zoom. So you get a 48mm equivalent, which gives you 3 focal lengths now, 0.5x, 1x, and 2x for photos and videos, and of course, upped resolution up to 48 megapixels if you want. This has been an outstanding camera. I've taken beautiful images, videos with my friends and family, and just stuff that I'm doing, stuff in New York that I was, you know, taking pictures of. I love this camera system again, to the point where if there weren't a few things where the iPhone Pro models edge this out, I would totally use this all the time and be perfectly happy. And next up, let's touch on battery life. It's really good this year with the regular 15 model. Not quite Plus level or Pro Max level, but it's the best we've ever seen yet. About 10 hours, according to Mr. Who's the Boss, which is incredible. And in my own testing, I use this exclusively with my main SIM for like a week, week and a half. I had no problems getting through the day for the most part without plugging in or charging, but when I did, you know, that was convenient too if I was around the house. And I'd also use one of these, like an Anker MagSafe, you know, power bank, very nifty thing. I'll link that in the video description, affiliate, by the way. But yeah, the battery life here is stellar. It's really nothing to scoff at. Again, it's not quite Plus or Pro Max level, but it's going to be fine for most, especially if you're upgrading from a phone that's like, you know, old and degraded and whatever. This is gonna treat you just fine, especially in more typical usage cases. And also too, last up, you get USB-C now, so you will no longer be inconvenienced by Lightning. Gone are the days where you have to have a separate cable for your phone. You know, this is groundbreaking stuff, I know, but still really convenient, the fact that you can charge your iPhone, MacBook, and iPad if you have all three with the same cable. And that about wraps everything up here. I hope this video was helpful if you're considering the regular 15 model this season, Black Friday time. And definitely make sure you check out, you know, some carrier deals, Black Friday stuff that's going on right now. And also check out my SKYLINE II wallpaper pack I just launched for mobile, desktop, and tablet. It's a gorgeous New York City themed one, and I appreciate you checking it out. And for your support, I'll leave it linked in the video description, along with my other socials on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, and of course, subscribe to the channel for more content like this. And as always, I'm Noah, and I will catch you all in the next one.